Hey. Oh, very, very cool. All right, this is working now. Fantastic. Just let me readjust this screen real fast so I can see everything that is going on. And we can get started here. So what I'm trying to do in this stream is I'm going to make some expanded conditions for 5e. And I am not in my home studio right now, so you're going to have to excuse the lighting, and I'm not sure how well the mic is. I'll try to put some music on here too. But we will see how this goes. All right. Do I have folks in chat? Cool. Fantastic. Okay. So what I'm going to try to do here, like I said, is I'm going to make some expanded conditions for 5e. Now, normally when people think of an expansion for 5th edition, what they're talking about is like a whole bunch of new archetypes or a whole bunch of new races or something like that. But I'm going to try something a little bit different here. The way other games expand, the way other games make an expansion is they create a whole bunch of new mechanics, and they create a bunch of features that key off of those new mechanics. And so that's what I'm going to try to do here. So imagine that instead of having the, I think like 12 conditions there are right now, imagine if there were like 5 or 6 new ones. And there were new spells or new features that would inflict those conditions upon things, or new monster abilities that would give you a new condition. So right off the bat, let's see a simple one, right? Everyone is familiar with the idea of bloodied, right? This is when you reach half of your hit points. So we need a way to sort of phrase this nicely. Okay, so a creature has a bloodied value equal to half their equal HP. Their HP, right? We're going to go ahead and bold this bloodied value right here because that's going to be a game turn that other things are going to key off of, right? Okay. So when a creature has HP equal to their bloodied value, equal to or less than, and their bloodied value, they are bloodied. So far, pretty simple, right? Let's make that lowercase. All right, and so this is what actually the condition is going to be. Bloodied. Am I even spelling this right? Can anyone tell me? Really don't know. Oh, snap, real fast. I probably should share this link on Twitter. Haven't done that yet. Sorry, folks. Just 1 second. So you guys can probably see where I'm going with this whole bloodied value thing, right? One second here. Awesome. Okay. Sorry about that. Back to business. Okay. So what sort of things do we want our bloodied condition to do? Like, what happens when you have it when you are bloodied? Well, a bloody creature. Ooh. At the end of a long rest, you only restore hit points up to your bloodied value. When a creature has HP less than their bloodied value, they are bloodied. Okay. So watch. Now this little thing already cleaned up after itself. Okay? So if you get knocked below your bloodied value right here, you gain the bloodied condition. And when you are bloodied, you restore HP up to your bloodied value. So you're not going to so this cleans up after itself. That if you get knocked below half your HP, at the end of your next long rest, you're only going to go up to right there. But once you cross that threshold, once you reach half your HP, your bloodied value, you are no longer bloodied, as per how we defined this condition. So boom, that was nice and easy. And we can imagine now that we have a spell or something, rending or something, that'll automatically inflict this bloodied condition on you. And so that when you go to your next long rest, you're not going to restore it all the way. So why did I want to expand on the conditions on 5e? That's a really good question. I think because I'm trying to do something really different with this book I'm putting out with Galdur's Gazetteer. I want it to be different than the stuff that WotC puts out, because what WotC's trying to do is just make the game as accessible to as many people as possible. But in my opinion, at least the people who follow my channel, I think, the game is far enough along that it's been around, almost 5 years now, that people are comfortable with the rules, so we can get a bit more fiddly with it. And I think it's just going to be something interesting and new, which is really try to be part of my brand, right? I'm always trying to push the edge, to try to figure out new things to do with the game. So, just going to go ahead and bold that, or maybe underline it something. Okay. So another condition that I had in sort of the back of my head is doomed, right? That is just something that when you say that word, it just really, I don't know, I think it's really evocative. I think it just has all sorts of cool story potential right behind it. Now, I know Doomed is in Pathfinder, but I think in Pathfinder it just keys off to the dying rules, and I don't really want that, right? I think this is more of a cursed or a fate thing coming on to you. So you can imagine a hag spell, a night hag will cast a spell on you that gives you the Doomed condition. Oh, they have to roll a d4 and subtract it from the attack and ability rolls. That's not a bad idea, sort of the opposite of being blessed, right? I'm going to keep that in mind, Fox. I'm going to do that right there. Minus d4. Opposite of blessed. All right. So in my mind, what the doomed condition would do, right off the bat, you have disadvantage on death saves. I mean, beautiful, right? Boom. So if something gives you the doomed condition and you're dying, death is calling towards you, right? That you're at your wit's end. I think another thing for the doomed condition might be sort of the opposite of some of the life cleric features. When the life cleric, when you roll dice to restore hit points, you always restore the max, right? So when dice are rolled, I'm just being kind of loose with the language right now. I'm gonna, clean it up and make it parse exactly, Jeremy Crawford's words later on. But right now I'm just trying to get these ideas on the page. We restore the minimum. Oh, as everyone knows here, I am not really a speller whatsoever. What kind of creature would bestow the doomed condition? I'm thinking hags, fiends, devils, things like that. Or maybe curses would bestow the doomed condition on you. Because right now, curses are sort of this weird area in 5e. They're what I like to call a silent condition. Along with things like hidden or surprised. They're not defined as conditions in the little appendix, but they act as though they are conditions. Another thing about conditions in 5e is that they carry a lot of mechanical weight, right? A lot of the combat effects are delivered through the conditions, and a lot of conditions stack on top of each other. Like, if you are unconscious, you are also incapacitated. Or a lot of other things are, while you are poisoned, you are also X. So things that restore conditions or other negative effects in the game are often delivered through conditions. So I think there's a lot of design space so we can still feel around these. So these are the two that I had like initially off of my head. So something I have been, oh, real fast chat. Is the music okay? Can you tell? Is it like too loud, too soft? Like I said, I'm not in my home studio right now. I'm in a hotel in Scotland, in Edinburgh. So apologize for everything. Okay. So another idea I had, sort of floating around, is Charmed. The Charmed condition is sort of like the domain of the Feywild, right? A lot of Fey creatures charm people. They charm humanoids and make them want to be with them. Elves are resistant to charm effects because they're Fey. So I sort of want to make the opposite of that, right? The prime material plane's at the center, and one echo is the Feywild. Another echo would be in the Shadowfell, right? So this Doom condition might be that echo of the Charmed condition, but I was thinking something a little darker, right? The word I have in my head is depressed, but that's sort of like that feels icky to me, right? Like, you know, mental illness is a real thing, and I think that's sort of like made people upset, and you know, reasonably so. But just for a placeholder, I want to sort of imagine what a depressed condition would look like. So real quick here, I'm going to look up the blessed condition because I don't have it memorized. Just going to pull up my Yield browser. I don't think you guys can see this right now. Good thing. Or Charmed, I mean. So I want to see what Charmed does, and then try to think of what an opposite, a Shadowfell version of the Charmed condition would look like. Oh my gosh. So Charmed is pretty simple. Looking at this. Hopeless, sober, apathetic. Yeah, those are all much better words, right? Pathetic. Hopeless. Somber. Those are all pretty good. All right, so this is just like Control F, you know, copy paste of exactly what the charmed effect does. You can attack and target with the charmer harmful abilities, and you can't target them with effects, right? So let's say that creatures, maybe they always attack with disadvantage. That's, you know what, that's probably a little too punishing. A creature can't attack the charmer. And the charmer has advantage on ability checks to interact. So let's do this the opposite, right? A depressed creature, apathetic, whatever, has disadvantage on any ability check to interact socially, period, right? You know, that by itself might be good enough, right? Leave that in there. Man, maybe disadvantage on initiatives, right? Unable to attack until they take damage. That's a great idea. I think disadvantage on initiative too. So the way that, oh man, you guys know what I mean. Initiative, whatever. So the way I sort of think of the Feywild and the Shadowfell, right? The Feywild is where all of your emotions are heightened, right? Apathetic creature can have advantage on any check. That's great. Oh man, that's great. I like that one. So the Feywild is when all of your emotions are heightened, sort of taken to an extreme degree. And the Shadowfell is sort of the opposite, where everything gets sort of loaned down and sucked right out of you. How many expanded conditions are I thinking of adding? Maybe like a half dozen, not too many. I'm just sort of throwing out some ideas right now. Can't have advantage on ability checks. All right, so right now this is a pretty punishing condition. So that might get cleaned up later, but right now I'm just trying to spitball some ideas out here, right? And that is one thing that I learned from watching a bunch of Happy Fun Hour, right? Is the most important thing is to sort of get ideas out there and focus on the story, right? You can clean up, you can revise later, but having a lot of material, having a really rich array of options to pick and choose from is really strong. Cool. Just because I'm a little weird like that, I want to change my font to whatever it is I'm using, Azul. All right. So I think one more that I had in the back of my head was something like, I think in something that does continuous damage, or not really, yeah, something like that. Like, if you ever played the Pokemon games, right? If you are frozen or you are burned or something like that, you always get beat up to something that's constantly nagging on you. So what I want to do is add the burned condition. Burn. B-U-R-N. Burned. All right, like I said, I'm in Scotland right now. I'm not back home, so it's way past midnight. I've had a really long day. So you have to forgive me just a little bit. All right, so with this burn condition, we can imagine a whole list of new spells, right, that inflict fire damage, acid damage, cold damage, that will leave you with something that's going to do permanent damage to you. Gorged, I like it. So while you are burned, your HP maximum can be reduced. I don't want to do like taking damage every round, because then it becomes something that you absolutely have to fix. That there's no alternative. There's no out of combat use for this condition, because it'll just kill you. You don't add con to hit dice. More established condition with riders. Less stuff to remember. Using more established conditions with riders. So that's not a bad idea. Like, while you are burned, you are also this. Yeah. You are bloodied. The damage is maximized. That's a good one. Oh, damage from the type that gave you this condition. That first. So like I said, this language is really sloppy. It's pretty much just like pseudocode. Yeah. There we go. Cool. So now we have one condition that keys off of our other one up here, right? While you are burned, you are also bloodied. This works like incapacitated and unconscious. While you are unconscious, you are also incapacitated. Very cool. All right. So I think you folk can sort of see where I am going with this. So, do any of y'all have any ideas of things that we could add, conditions that you would like to see added to the game? I think hopeless is probably the best word there. or you gain vulnerability. That's not bad. Drenched. Okay. Here's an idea, right? Take 10%. Oh, see, that could be... So, because the always round down general rule, that unless you're doing double digits of damage, it's not going to have a huge effect. I had a thought. Okay. So, if you've played 5e long enough, you understand that exhaustion is absolutely punishing. Like, as soon as you gain a level of exhaustion, as soon as anyone in your party gains a level of exhaustion, like the game grinds to a halt, you pause to try to remove that level. Oh, I'm exhausted, we have to take a long rest right now. And so, in my opinion, that's not really a great condition. It's not really a great thing to have, because flat-footed and surprised, yeah, that's a good one. Because I've never really seen anyone go all the way up the exhausted chart, right? Because they're just so concerned with getting it removed right away. So we can add a condition that's sort of like exhausted, that has exhausted-like effects, but is not nearly as scary, right? So let's say the spent condition. Attacks at disadvantage and disadvantage on dex saves. So the spent condition is something, okay, the first level of exhaustion is you have disadvantage on ability checks, right? But I think the spent condition, disadvantage on initiative, right? That is something that sounds bad and it sounds scary to the game, but it's not going to make a huge impact, right? It makes sense story-wise, but it's not going to absolutely kill the players. It may be disadvantage on dex saves. Oh, you can just do a disadvantage on dex ability checks and saves. And con. Fatigued, that's not a bad word either, right? Fat I-G-U-E. Okay. Cool. So I'm actually really not sure how much I really like this one. But that gave me an interesting idea, right? So far, all the conditions in the game are bad things, things that you do not want to have happen to you. What if we added a positive condition? What if we have rested? Right? Like, who here has played Skyrim, right? So when you sleep at your bed in Skyrim, you gain a well-rested bonus. Like, you get a bonus to XP or something like that. So I don't want this condition to use XP because not every table uses XP. But I think having a rested condition is a good idea. That if you spend some time like in a home, in a tavern, in a warm bed, that should help your character out. That should give you a reason to go back to your home and do all your good stuff. And so if you are rested, maybe advantage on the next ability check you make. On the next strength, dex or con check. Advantage on saves versus disease. So if you're suffering from a disease and you go home and you rest and you gained the resting condition, temporary hit points, sexy beast, brilliant. Temp HP equal to your level. Level plus con score. That might be a little too much, but like I said, right now I'm just trying to spitball some ideas. Okay. So right now we have bloodied, doomed, hopeless, burned, fatigued, and rested. So that's actually a pretty hefty list right there, isn't it? Inspiration or lucky light like feats. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Food giving the rested condition, right? Yeah, so exactly. We can make all sorts of little rules modules or things in the game that would bestow the rested condition on you. Like if you spend a couple of days of downtime in a tavern, that would give you the rested condition. If you get a new spell that is similar to Hero's Feast, it gives everybody the rested condition. Is there a crippled effect for 5e? Now see, think of the player who took Inspiring Leader. Ooh. Oh man, that's a good point. See, in general, I love temporary hit points because they clean up after themselves. They're one of the best features in the game for that reason. That you don't have to constantly keep track of them. You can only have one source. But that's a good point. That there could be a player who took Inspiring Leader. There could be a player who took something else. And you're sort of depriving them of that. Make a note of that. Okay. Cool. All right, so I think we're off to a good start here, right? I'm gonna bolden this. All right, I don't quite want to go back and clean all of these up. Less than their bloodied value, they gain the bloodied condition. And when you are bloodied, at the end of your long rest, you restore hit points up to your bloodied value. And so you're at your bloodied value, you're no longer below your bloodied value, and you cure the bloodied condition. That one's pretty. I think Doomed is pretty set too. Oh, a max HP increase. That's not a bad idea. Okay. So I'm going to drop the disadvantage on initiative from Hopeless because we don't make this 2-2-2 punishing. Disadvantage on any ability to check to interact socially. I think that's pretty fitting thematically. You're unable to attack until you take damage. That works. And you can't have advantage on ability checks. I'm not sure. See, I think we might be able to combine these first two, right? You can't have advantage on ability checks to interact socially. Okay. All right. All right. So this is, in the burn condition, this is something that's going to have to be sorted out in play testing, right? Which one is actually going to fit the bill? Burned, you gain the bloody condition. I think that makes a lot of sense. While you're burned, you're also bloodied. And then which one is going to be better? I think something we're going to have to sort of tease out. You cannot use advantage to negate the hopeless effect. Oh, okay. So this spent fatigued one, I think it needs a little more work, right? Like, I like the idea of having an alternative to exhaustion. Because like I said before, people just, once you get it in your first level of exhaustion, that's it, right? Like you do everything you can to avoid doing any more. And most of the time you don't really work your way all the way up that chart. but I like the speed is halved. So something else we can do here is we can get a little finicky, right? That disadvantage is, pretty easy to do, but disadvantage doesn't stack. So instead of having disadvantage on dex and con checks, because that's sort of similar to what the exhausted already does, we can say you have a -5 penalty. All right? Because those bonuses, they do stack. So if you're both spent and exhausted, now you can have a pretty serious penalty. Yes, that is better. You cannot take the dash action. So really, this should probably be a creature who is spent cannot take the dash action. But like I said, we're going to clean all this language up later, make it all, Jeremy Crawford approved. But I'm just trying to get these ideas on the page. All right. I kind of want to add another one, a crippled effect, right? So again, I don't like that word because, some people are going to take issue with it, right? I think the word described as ableist, but wounded, maybe? Injured? Spent could also be called winded. Yeah, that's not a bad one at all. I'm going to put that down here. So if you are wounded, you are also bloodied. And what else would this do to you? So you know what? We'll take this minus D4, put it over here. Second wind cures the winded condition. All right. Minus D4, 2 attacks. Wow. What doesn't the Bane spell already do that exactly? I'm going to have to look that up. So something I do in my home games is I use a lingering injury system. But I'm not hugely impressed with what I've been doing, actually. The way that I've been playing is if you get knocked down to 0 hit points and your first death saving throw is a failure, you use that result on the special table that I have. So if your first death saving throw is a 4, for example, you now have an internal injury. If your first death saving throw is a 6, you lost a foot or something crazy like that. It's a lot of fun for me as a DM, but the players are kind of getting sick of it. It's a little too much. Oh man, I need to adjust this. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you guys couldn't see all of this. There we go. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. So what else would a wounded creature have? If you were suffering from a long-term wound, your hit dice rolls are minimized. Oh man, motivated. Yeah. So here's the thing with something like motivated, right? And this is something that I do not like at all about the Pathfinder system, is that a lot of things that are normally done through roleplay or through like the DM's discretion, they try to codify. Like I do not like all the different levels of how friendly a creature is towards you. I don't like all the different decisions of whether or not you're hidden, unobserved, unnoticed, etc. I think all those things should be left up to the DM to run the game. I think what Pathfinder was really trying to do was make a system so complete and so robust that you wouldn't even need a DM, that the game could just run itself. But I think that's a false promise. I don't think that's ever actually going to deliver on that. And instead it just sort of like weighs folks down. I mean, hats off to Paizo for hats off to them for trying to make it a really well designed and thoroughly designed game. But I think putting so much of it on the rules and taking away from the game master it's a promise they can't keep. You can't deliver on that. You need a human being to really parse the rules through, to interpret what the players are trying to do into a game system. So that's why good thought there, Student Smith, but I think something like Motivated is not quite gonna cut it. And like Camcake said, that really just kind of is inspiration. So this whole wounded, injured thing, I'm not really sure if I'm actually gonna keep this. So far, this is my least favorite one. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna use my. That's right. So we can have a version of a cantrip we have a first level spell that does little damage but burns. We can have a third level spell that dooms. Yeah, exactly, Baldspur. That's what I'm trying to get the, oh, you can't see it on the screen, I don't think. But that's exactly what I'm trying to do with this burned condition, is make it something like that. That if you get frostbitten or something, right, that you also gain this burned condition. Sorry, I lost my OBS tracker here, so I can't see exactly what you guys see. Sorry, give me 1 second here. Yeah. Let me try to readjust this. Make my face smaller. You guys don't need to see that. There we go. Boom. What about conditions that apply spells? A condition that could say, well, under this condition, you suffer the effect of the spell. That would work, yeah. So while you're doomed, or we can do it the opposite way around. That you can add doomed condition to an option for curse, right? That we can write a little addendum here. It says, okay, that if you cast the curse spell, it also has this ability to inflict the doom condition. Because we're gonna have to do something like that for like lesser restoration. That, oh, these conditions can also be cured by the lesser restoration spell, the greater restoration spell. These conditions can also be inflicted by the curse spell, or yada yada. Expanded fear and mental conditions. Oh, that's not a bad one either, right? So what's something that's not quite fear? See, I think I think the idea of extreme heights claustrophobia kleptomania. Oh man, there we go. So that's another sort of thing in the game that's sort of like a half condition, is madness, right? That there are some madness rules in the DMG, but there's not really a whole lot to do about them. It's just like, okay, you have this thing, and now you're rolling this table, and this is your affliction, right? It doesn't really tell you a whole lot about what to do. It's not really handled completely and fully. Shaken, that's a good one. Oh, man. So again, madness, like that could be, what's the word we use? It's problematic. But shaken, I like this over here. Aw. So here's the thing, right? That the conditions have to be wide enough that a whole bunch of different creatures and spells and effects can inflict them, or can give you these conditions. They can't be so specific that only like one spell or one creature can do it, right? So something like, while you are shaken, you are also hopeless would make sense. Yeah, some Curse of Strahd stuff. Shaken, madness, or corruption. There we go. Like your soul somehow leaving you, that you have negative effects. You have advantage on negotiating. Interact socially with fiends. Have I looked at the 4E conditions yet? Not for a long time. It's been a hot second. If you are shaking, you don't get your proficiency bonus. That's a great idea. To any ability check. Now, that is actually a really cool concept in general. I like that a lot. I like how it breaks a rule. It's a clear exception that really fits into 5e's general design of an exception-based game. Okay. Awe. So, you know what? Awe is sort of falls under the charmed condition, I would think. I think that if a creature would awe you, you're also charmed. Mm-hmm. Okay. I want to think about that for a while. All right. So I think, like I mentioned earlier, I am on vacation right now. I am in Scotland, in Edinburgh. It is almost 1 in the morning, and my wife is here in the hotel room with me, and she's getting kind of annoyed that I'm still doing this. So I am going to cut it early right now. I was trying to do an hour, but I think I got a lot done here. And I think you also have got some insight into what I'm going to try to do with the Galder's Gazetteer book. I'm going to make it not just an expansion like Xanathar's is, where you just add a bunch of new stuff to it. I'm going to try to make it an expansion like other games expand. Add a bunch of new mechanics and things that key off those mechanics. And I'm comfortable with doing that because 5th edition has been around long enough that I think you can add a bit of complexity. Or that people who are seeking out this book can add these complexities if they want. You need a player not to add the proficiency. That's a good place. All right, so thank you everybody for hanging out, If you haven't done so already, please sign up for the Kickstarter. I'm going to put the link right in here in this video description. If you just search for Galler's Gazetteer, you can find it. It's for a really great cause. Yeah, and I'm really excited about doing this. So thanks for hanging out, and there will be a new video coming out really soon. All right, see ya.